for the record, say and spell your first last name for me.
Eli Bremer, Elibremer, Chairman, Colorado Republican Party.
That's my first question. Are you the legitimate chairman of the party compared to what others are still saying at this point?
Yes, last weekend the Colorado Republican Party met. We had a fairly sizable meeting. We well beyond a quorum. They discussed the issues at hand. There's been a lot of consternation about the former leadership. District Attorney Michael Allen from right here in Colorado Springs made a motion to remove the officers. That motion was considered, debated, and then voted on. They voted to remove the officers, and then afterwards they voted to have me replace them and take over the party.
And so even with that being said, on Tuesday I still got an email from the state GOP saying it's Chairman Dave Williams, saying that meeting was still a sham. What do you say to that, and when, if ever, or how will this all be resolved?
Well, we're in the process right now of going through the courts, and it's effectively like an eviction process. This is not unprecedented. The Michigan GOP had the same thing happen. They had a chairwoman up there who was being a disaster. She was removed by the party. It took them time. They had to go through the courts. In fact, I'm scheduled to talk to the chair of the Michigan GOP today to talk about their process of that. So this will be a process. We're going to get them removed from the email accounts, the bank accounts, from the office. It'll happen. It's going to take us a little bit to finish that off.
And do you think it'll be ultimately decided in the courts, or will the National Committee make the decision?
It's going to be a bit of both. There's a process that has to play out in the courts, and then the final recognition will be at the RNC.
And why, in your view, do you think all this had to happen and come to pass? Why did you have to change the guard?
Well, the whole system was completely dysfunctional. It started last winter when things started going off the rails, when they decided to endorse in primaries. And what happened was the former officers picked friends of theirs and cronies who were unacceptable to the Republican electorate. We have 900,000 Republicans in Colorado, and they resoundingly turned down the candidates that the former officers proposed. During that time, they also used the party funds to support themselves and their cronies, as opposed to supporting Republicans. It got to a total boiling point after the primary when the former party officers refused to support, endorse, or work with the Republican nominees, and it's been so bad that those nominees at this point view the party as hostile, and they all supported the removal of the officers because they wanted the party to be supporting them, and they felt like it was opposing them.
And nominees, you're talking about all the congressional nominees, or which nominees?
Yeah, largely the congressional nominees. We had 7 of the 8 congressional nominees, including both in the very competitive districts, call for the removal of the officers. That says a lot when the candidates, the most important candidates in the state, say that the Colorado Republican Party had turned against them. I've had conversations with Gabe Evans and Jeff Hurd, our 2 marquee candidates in the congressional races. The number one thing they asked me to do is please don't make us look behind us and see if the Republican Party is attacking us, because that's how they've been viewing it. I've given them my word. They have no problems now. We're going to work together toward the election.
And why were you the right person to take charge and kind of become this interim leadership role?
I drew the short straw. I think it's because of my background. I had run the El Paso County Republican Party here in Colorado Springs about a decade ago. We set fundraising records. I've been viewed as one of the top party management experts inside the state. I've worked at the national level. I've been a candidate statewide for United States Senate. So I had connections to the grassroots activists, the party chairs. I know how parties are supposed to run, but also the donors who we need to bring back in. So I was asked to come in and sort of fill in as an interim for this job. That's what I'm going to do now, and that's our path forward.
And so then at what point would you be handing off the baton to the next leadership?
Well, there's a natural election that happens in the early spring. My position, it can't happen soon enough. We're going to get through this time. We're going to get the party back on track. And then probably around March, there will be another organizational meeting where the party will pick a new management team, a leadership team, to take them through the 2026 cycle.
So I think we're about 4 days since your movement into this role. What have you accomplished in that 4 days?
Oh, we've done a tremendous amount. I've been meeting with candidates and learning what their pain points are. We've discovered some really interesting things. We assumed there was no coordination going on. That was true. We've also discovered that there were actions taking place that were frankly counterproductive to our candidates. Additionally, I've been talking to county party chairs, and they told me that one of their biggest pain points is that there are no Trump yard signs coming into the state. There's no Trump walking materials. So we've had volunteers coming in and saying, I want to walk precincts and knock doors for Trump. And they're leaving angry and upset, rightfully so, because the Republican Party doesn't have literature for the top of the ticket. We're in the process right now of doing a mass order for the state. We're going to fix those problems. We should have walking materials within a week, and we're going to get those out to the 64 counties.
And what are your big priorities going to be? Is it electing Donald Trump? Because in a state like Colorado, it could be difficult these days. Or are you really going to focus on these down ballot races as well?
It's going to be all of the above. You have a lot of the grassroots activists are very inspired by the top of the ticket. They don't necessarily know who their county commissioner or state rep candidate is. And so if you give up on the top of the ticket, which the former leadership had, they basically said, we're not interested in supporting Donald Trump, then your activists don't go out there and promote the down ticket. So it's really a team approach, and we're going to work all together for that. When we have volunteers out knocking doors, they can hand out literature for Trump, they can hand out literature for the congressional candidate, all the way down to the state representative, county commissioner, district attorney. So you can't just parcel it out and say we're only going to focus on this one area. It's a combined team operation.
And how are you going to measure success in that regard? Do you have a set number of Republicans you hope to get elected, or do you hope to just keep some races close? How's that going to work?
Well, right now, the biggest marquee races are the congressional districts in the 3rd and the 8th. That's Jeff Hurd and Gabe Evans, respectively. We love to win those races. Additionally, we have focus on the state House and the state Senate. On the state House, Republicans are in a micro minority, which means that they don't get as many seats on committees. The state Senate is teetering on the brink of hitting that. If the Republicans lose one seat, then the Republicans will be a micro minority, and that'll give the Democrats effectively total power in Denver. So we're looking across the state. I'm talking to Representative Rose Puglisi, who's the head of the House Republicans, and Senator Paul Lundeen, who's in charge of the Senate Republicans, to say, how can we properly bring resources in? To date, we don't have control of the bank account yet, so we don't know what our assets are. We're just taking stock of the situation, but if we can win some of those key races, that'll be a good success.
So that being said, was this a good time to go through this tumultuous reset, essentially? Because we're so close to the election, but you're telling me you don't have access to all these resources that you guys probably need to try to get these elections in your favor.
Well, that's a great question. People ask that all the time. The answer is yes, we had to do it because those resources were being used to attack our candidates. Last week, I had a candidate tell me he lost $20,000 in donations because of attacks from the state GOP. So the state party officers who were removed were acting with animosity toward our candidates. They were sabotaging them, deliberately trying to harm them. And so when you have the party organization that's supposed to be helping them that has turned against your own candidates, you have to make a switch. We had no choice.
And which, can you give me an example of this animosity you're describing?
Yeah, so we have Senator Cleve Simpson, who's running in the southern and western part of the state, and that's a seat we need to hold. The party email account sent out a vile email against his opponent and attacked his opponent on basis that Senator Simpson had absolutely no intention of going into. It was a personal attack, and it was disgusting. What that did is it actually inspired the opposition, and it put him on the map as a prime target. It gave his opponent fundraising ability, and it may very well cost us a state Senate seat. Same thing has happened in the congressional races when they're doing fundraisers and things like that are not supposed to be publicized. The party was putting it out there, putting people's personal addresses out, and every campaign that I've talked to, every competitive campaign, bar none, has told me that they felt like they were being attacked by their own party.
So do you think the messaging of the Colorado Republicans, are you going to turn it more towards policy? Because in my view, it's been a lot of identity and culture, war, politics. Are you going to change that? Are you going to continue that in some way? Because you just mentioned that attack. You know, I know you had your former campaign against trans athletes in women's sports. So what do you think the policies or priorities are going to be now?
Well, our priority is going to be our candidates. The focus shouldn't be on the Republican Party. We don't want people talking about the Republican Party. We want them talking about our candidates. Voters vote for the candidates. So if the party is interjecting itself in there and they're the ones being talked about, that's a problem. Because when someone goes to the ballot box, they're making a decision on candidate A or candidate B. And so all of our communications are going to focus and be aligned with each candidate. I've made the promise to all of our candidates that we will not be sending out any communication that is not fully coordinated with them. Our job is to support them and nothing else.
Are you worried, like yesterday when I got this email still from Dave Williams and his other leaders that were ousted, that that's going to continue and just cause confusion amongst the voters here?
I don't think so. They have so little reach as it is. That was a very small faction, as you can see when the former chairman ran here in the 5th Congressional District. He barely registered. He got absolutely walloped. So they don't really have a lot of supporters that are out there. And so we're just going to move forward and we're going to unify people around our purpose and our mission. It's going to take us a couple weeks to get control of the email. It's sort of like having squatters in the office. We're going to get control of the emails. We're going to get control of the bank accounts. We're going to get control of the financial reporting. We will be running donations through a county party for the next couple weeks so that we can actually stand up operations. That's totally legal. It's been legally approved. We'll eventually get the bank account back and stuff like that. I have no idea if there's any money left. But this will be probably about a 3 to 4 week eviction process, during which time our team is fully up and running already.
And which county is going to be taking those donations?
I'll announce it in about later on today. We're in the process of finalizing it.
And in terms of the process, you're saying 3 to 4 weeks, but one small delay could start pushing you up against Election Day. Mm-hmm. Are you scared about that happening?
No, because we've got workarounds built up already. We're going to be able, like I said, to run money through a county party organization. We are already working with the National Republican Congressional Committee. That's the sort of the arm of the Republican National Committee that works on congressional races. We are integrating with them. We've already had discussions about how to work the finances and things like that. So we have the squatters are basically going to stay as long as they can until they get sort of the legal eviction process done. Every day they're losing their ability to cause harm to our candidates. That's, like I said before, that's been the number one thing the candidates have asked me for is please stop attacking us from the party. And so in as much as even that's what's going on, it's very positive.
Mm-hmm. And then come Election Day or next year, once this eviction, as you're calling it, happens, will you welcome these Republicans back into the party, or are you guys kind of excommunicating them for good?
Look, they're always welcome back in as long as they're going to work to get Republicans elected. The number one problem we're having right now is that they're acting like the opposition to our own candidates. So if you're a Republican or an unaffiliated or a Democrat and you want to work to get Jeff Hurd elected, we're going to work with you. But if you come into the Republican Party and say, I am going to work against our Republican nominees, then there's no unity with that. That's just not going to be allowed. For instance, the former vice chairman of the party, Hope Scheppelman, literally promoted Adam Frisch campaign material on her social media account as the vice chairman. She was literally campaigning for the opponent of Jeff Hurd in the 3rd Congressional District. That's how bad things have gotten. So we will work with anybody who wants to support our candidates, whether it's President Trump or whether it's our congressionals or our district attorneys. But if you show up and you're working against Republicans, we're not going to have a lot of position for you in the Republican Party.
You mentioned a call with Lauren Boebert on your Twitter. Mm-hmm. Can you reveal what she said? Is she essentially recognizing you as a chair?
I'll let Congresswoman Boebert speak for herself. We've always had a very good relationship. Right after she got elected, I hosted an open house for her at my house with all of our local elected officials. So when I'm in D.C., I stop by and visit her, and we talk about, I've called her for political advice before. So, I gave her my word that as the party chairman, we were going to work with her and her campaign. She appreciated that, and we have a very good relationship.
So is there any major political figure in Colorado who you have not heard from yet in terms of your new position?
Not really. No, we've had I've been getting congratulatory calls. Former Senator Cory Gardner called me, congratulated me, said I'm so glad that this is happening, and he's pledged his complete support. We will be working with him to work on fundraising for our candidates. And I think overall there's been just a big sigh of relief that we at least have a light at the end of the tunnel, that the party organization, the Republican Party organization, is going to quit attacking Republican candidates.
And National Committee, have you heard from them yet? And do you expect to hear from them?
The RNC itself has to stay fairly arm's length for a little bit because this process is a complex process. If you look at Michigan, it has to sort of work its way through court systems and things like that. It's not a very simple process. So they're very much apprised. There have been obviously a certain level of communications that are quite appropriate. We're working already directly with the National Republican Congressional Committee, which is part of the National Republican system. We're working with them on bringing money into our state. So it's a process, and there's a lot of players involved.
Mm-hmm. And Colorado's turned so blue in the last few elections. Do you expect to ever get it back to that purple state? Maybe let's not say red state, but at least a purple swing state status. Do you ever think that's feasible?
Well, I think Colorado's been voting more blue than we actually are. And it's been, in many cases, bad actions by Republicans that have led that. If we don't take our case to the Colorado voters in a compelling way, then they're not going to vote for us. There are so many issues that Coloradans have agreement on, whether it's lower taxes. I mean, that's a Republican issue. Republicans are great conservationists. We are a party of conservationists. That's really important inside Colorado. We tend to be a school choice party, and that's popular in Colorado as well. I've talked a tremendous amount about protecting women's sports. That inside Colorado, that's a hardcore Republican issue. About half of Democrats agree with us on that. So there are a lot of issues that if Colorado Republicans really compete on these issues, that I think we're a lot more aligned with the state than what people think. So my hope is that this cycle we've got some great candidates. They're talking about those issues. If we keep on those issues and the independents, the unaffiliateds in Colorado see that we're serious about governance, I think we might see a shift back.
One thing I do want to ask, because come Friday, I do expect to hear if the ranked choice voting made the ballot, and I'm just curious if you have thoughts on that, because I know typically the parties seem to object to it, but assuming this gets on the ballot come Friday, do you support the ranked choice voting open primary initiative that voters will be weighing in on in November?
Well, that would be a tectonic shift in Colorado politics. I haven't read the final proposal yet. In general, I don't typically like ranked choice voting. I haven't read this one. But I think it also goes to show how much angst there is in the political system out here. Fundamentally, we have problems with how the political system has been run, and it's in many ways hurt Republicans. And we are not a hard blue state if you look at the polling, and yet the elections tend to go that way. So I do think there is a fair amount of tension inside the state between where the voters are and how the government has been formulated. And I believe that that's what's drawing people to look at new election systems. So that one I have not thoroughly analyzed yet, so I can't speak to it directly. I doubt that the Republican Party, unless the Central Committee gathers and says we want to speak on this, that they will speak on it. I believe that's something candidates should speak about, and that they will address that directly inside their campaigns. In my opinion, the party should be more seen and not heard. So I'll let people make their judgment on that, unless it's something that the committee decides as a body that they want to support or oppose, in which case we will come out on that position.
There's still that meeting scheduled for August 31st in Castle Rock. What's your expectation with that? Is that going to be considered a legitimate meeting at this point?
Well, it's not a legitimate meeting. The Central Committee met last weekend at a proper meeting and announced that they were going to cancel it. Frankly, I don't think they're going to have a whole lot of people show up. The last meeting they called, they had 3 people come to. So we had 12 supporters of former Chairman Williams at the meeting last weekend. So we literally had 4 times as many as they had at their meeting. We've given them the blessing to say hold a rally, maybe go walk some precincts. It won't be recognized as a legal meeting. They cannot conduct business there. We've had multiple attorneys weigh in on that, And so, I would encourage the folks that are out there to say, join our team. If you want to support President Trump all the way down the ballot, join our team. Let's start working together, because I think it's time to put this behind us. And our team's already hit the ground running. We could use all the help we can get. If they want to hold a meeting, a rally, that's great, but it's not a party meeting.
And I'm taking it you have not heard directly from Dave Williams at this point?
That is correct. Nor do I expect to. He has not talked to any of our candidates since the primary. They endorsed against our candidates in the primary. Typically, after the primary, the party gives a blanket endorsement. That had not happened. So on August 24th, on behalf of the Republican Party, I endorsed every Republican candidate in the state of Colorado. The fact that it took 2 months for the party to endorse its own candidates is unconscionable. So that's how much the system had broken down.
All right. That is it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it.